Welcome to the Are We Idiots Show, where we question the status quo on society's important issues while mixing in plenty of laughs along the way. Now here are your hosts, Mark Weaver and Rich Kroll.
Hello again, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Are We Idiots Show. We are your hosts, as always, Mark Weaver and Richard Kroll.
I would think he's been drinking. He's a little more animated. And folks, let me explain my partner, dear friend, Mark Weaver. He's an athlete. He's a tall guy. You know, he's reputable. So I hate to call him a dork, but we need to.
I wear that mantle proudly.
So he's wearing a T-shirt that says "Lower taxes plus less government equals more freedom."
Amen.
So
liberty.
He's either a nerd or a dork today, but I get a kick out of it.
Well, I'm actually a nerd and a dork when it comes to libertarian type of things, and actually quite annoying to most people as well.
I will second that.
So, Richie, we have a great show. Before we go into the show, do you have any words of wisdom or a tip of the day or anything along the sort?
You know, it's a little bit of a anomaly word of the day, but I've gotten some feedback from the women listeners that...
Both of them?
All two of them. 1.5, because one's 10 years old. That we did a little bit of a injustice to our listeners by having
disservice. But
disservice.
Okay. Yeah.
You can correct me. I often get those words wrong. I can spell them, unlike you, but I get them wrong.
True.
Where we had three grumpy old men doing pet peeves, and maybe it was through our lens. So I'm going to have a lot more of these coming back at me as my wife accumulates them. But the first one is from my 10-year-old daughter, who said, "Daddy, how could you guys forget two of the biggest pet peeves for me is chewing with your mouth open and not wearing deodorant in a crowded place."
Just go to 80% of the taxi cabs in New York and you'll experience that. You did, I want to give you credit, you did mention the toilet seat thing in your pet peeves as a pet peeve that is a legitimate pet peeve.
You know,
leaving the toilet seat up. So
my wife Jill
defend
did not,
yourself.
Yeah, my wife Jill did not give me credit for that one. So yes, I did try to throw in something a little more womanly.
Well, as you feel led, listeners, send us in your comments on all our shows. But certainly, if you have pet peeves you want to share, we'll read some comments on the air, or if you have comments on any other shows. And speaking of listeners, we want to always thank our patrons: Mark Zlotnikoff, Mike Smalls, Eric Weaver, Mary Ellen Weaver Real Estate, Chris Barbie, Scott Carney, and you, whoever's out there. You will be next. And I hope there's many of you. Go to our supporting listeners page of our website. There's a link for our Patreon site. And for a cost of a cup of coffee every month or two, maybe an expensive cup of coffee, you can help us. $5 a month, $10 a month. We'd surely appreciate if you could do that. And the last housekeeping issue I'll say is we posted our last year's episodes. So I think since August of last year, we posted on our YouTube channel. We've had a YouTube channel. It's just kind of been dormant, but we got some feedback that people would prefer to listen to our podcast on YouTube, which is not typical necessarily, but we like evolving. And our last, say, 30 episodes or so are up on our YouTube channel. So just go to YouTube, search Are We Idiots Show, and you will be able to listen there if you feel so led.
Well, Mark, can I call you Mark?
You can.
When we upgrade our act from doing the show from the back of your pickup truck, and
if only I had a pickup truck. I love pickup trucks.
We can video the show. I think people actually would like to see the show videoed. We can evolve to true YouTube, not just audio.
And that has been in the plans. There's certain technical requirements of that, which would require money. So if you really want to see our ugly mugs, listeners, we need more patrons. And then we can add the equipment and the data storage and the hosting requirements for YouTube video. And we'll be like Dan Patrick's show. We'll be like that.
Just exactly like
I'll have
Dan
to build
Patrick.
a big studio on the top of my garage or something like that, like he did. Okay, so on our show today, Rich has some Idiot of the Week nominees for me next. Then we're going to talk about big data. And if
BD?
BD, kind of like ED, but, better.
Better.
Rich and I have a technology sales background, both of us, so we know a little bit about this space, and we can hopefully add some value. Then we're going to conclude the show with my top 10. We'll do it Letterman style, so 10 down to 1, of the best future technology movies, at least in my lifetime, but maybe even all time. So, and Rich, I'm sure will have comments and critiques of my list.
Oh, I'm sure.
So, Richie, Idiot of the Week, who you got?
So this one is more a compilation of,
Is that a word?
I don't know, because I was thinking combo.
Compilation?
I like compilation because it's
So
a combo.
It's kind of like muddle, like a muddy puddle.
Yes, it's a lot like muddle. This one, some people may say, well, that's their business, or people can do what they want with their relationships.
I probably would say that.
But follow this intricate web and tell me if maybe idiot's not the right word, but it kind of annoyed me. And very appropriate because it's referencing Joe Biden's family.
Now, he's had a harsh family life. I hope you're not too hard on him.
You'll stick with me on this one and see
Okay.
if you can follow the web. Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden, recently wed South African native Melissa Cohen. That would seem normal. About a month after he had split from his late brother, Beau's widow, Hallie.
Yeah, I was aware of that one.
Hunter Biden and Melissa Cohen first met in the same month as the wedding, and they already have gotten matching tattoos. The surprise wedding comes about a month after he split from the widow of his late brother, Beau Biden, who passed away in 2015 from cancer at the unfortunate early age of 46.
Right.
In 2017, the Biden family confirmed Beau had split with his wife at that time, Kathleen, to date his former sister-in-law,
Yep.
Hallie Biden. Hallie and I are incredibly lucky to have found the love and support we have for each other in such a difficult time, and that's been obvious to the people who love us most. We've been so lucky to have family and friends who have supported us every step of the way. A family friend told People magazine in 2017, no two brothers were as close as Hunter and Beau, and anyone moved to judgment now has no knowledge of the grace and strength which Hunter and Hallie have navigated the last 4 years. In late April, Hunter and Hallie split for unknown reasons. Hallie told Page 6 that she has no comment. Do you think it has anything to do with him getting married 30 days later, which if there wasn't an affair going on,
There was, for
then
sure.
help me.
So the Hunter Biden is basically the, what was it, Billy Bush? What was that? Not Billy Bush. Who is Billy
Billy
Carter?
Bob Thornton?
Billy Carter. Billy
Carter.
Carter for Jimmy Carter. So Hunter Biden is a train wreck. So he is also a cocaine user. I'm pretty sure. I'm not making that up. But he had drug problems. I know he had drug problems. I think it was cocaine. He was involved in some illegal, some shady business deals. I mean, he's a train wreck. This guy.
But in summary,
And you go after your dead brother's wife.
so
I mean, just
in summary,
low life.
he left his wife for
Right.
his dead brother's wife, then dumps her and has an affair to get married
right.
within 30 days.
Shady business deals. Also, a drug user or a drug abuser. Yeah, he could be the idiot of the
So
year.
that one kind of, as I get older and more family-esque, that one really bugged me. Now this one, this is a good one, but I think the idiot of the week can go either way in this story.
Lay it on me.
Tracy Morgan.
He crashed his Bugatti, right?
Yeah, who, by the way, I think he was a pretty funny guy in 30 Rock and SNL, and he's got a new show now.
Right.
But I saw an interview with him with, who's the tall, red-haired guy? Late night.
Conan.
I saw an interview with him on Conan O'Brien,
Yeah.
and I won't get into it now, but it was pretty appalling. He was making jokes about, he was a crack dealer in the past.
Right.
And he was making jokes with a straight face about how he would warn them they could die, but he would still sell them the drugs because he had a big heart. He was talking about having intercourse and relations with his 400-pound girlfriend who had flappy arms, and he purposely would not wear a condom because he's old school, and he did all this
Yeah.
with a straight face. He got some really weird reactions from Conan. Anyway, so I got a little bit of a. So I just want to give you that background. I don't
Well,
know.
he also was the guy whose van was hit by a Walmart truck, and he collected a huge settlement. He almost died.
A friend of his did die in that accident.
Right, in a New Jersey Turnpike, and Walmart paid big.
So I don't know about
He's
this
got a bucket
guy.
of cash.
Yeah, I don't know about this guy, Tracy Morgan. But anyway, to your knowledge, you already know, he crashed his $2 million supercar in New York City just minutes after buying the car. He was less than a mile away from the Bugatti dealership when his Bugatti Veyron was sideswiped by another car. He collided with a Honda CR-V near 10th and 42nd in Manhattan, which is not far from the Lincoln Tunnel. The comedian went ballistic, got out of his car, pounding on the window and hood of the car, screaming at the driver, "Bitch, get out of the car." And Morgan can be seen and heard saying this on a video as he punches the car. The other driver, Jocelyn Madelid, 61 years old, told the Post that Morgan's reaction frightened her. "He was yelling at me. I got scared. I didn't yell anything back. I just stayed in my car." And
Smart, which was smart.
she said it was definitely Morgan's fault. But evidence shows she was trying to make a right turn from the left lane while on her cell phone. And the SUV was at a height where she couldn't even see this low to the ground Bugatti.
Right,
So there's photos of it. She's turning into him.
right.
But two things
Yeah.
struck me, like another person on their cell phone.
And they got cameras everywhere in New
They got
York, so they
cameras
probably
everywhere. This is
documented
everywhere.
everything.
So, but I'm thinking, why would you drive a $2 million car in the crowded, insane? I walk the streets of New York quite often for work. It's insane just to get through one
Right.
intersection.
Well, first of all, you shouldn't even own a car in New York. If you live there, you don't own a car because no one does. They all use the trains.
But the story gets better. So, despite the minimal damage on the front left fender, the net worth of the Bugatti has dropped by $200,000 due to the accident report that has to be filed because also an ambulance had to show up, just as part of the accident protocol in New York.
Well, as we talked about on the Personal Finance Show, any car that leaves the dealership drops 20%. So that doesn't surprise me.
Okay, so that's where this article is going. Add the 20% drop, add the $200,000, and now add this. Her insurance will only cover a small portion of the damage because the value of the Bugatti was way above the limits of her commercial insurance plan.
Right.
The comedian may need to spend $50,000 out of his own pocket to get this fixed at an authorized Bugatti dealer.
Right.
So
So you're saying that if I hit it rich, I shouldn't buy a Bugatti? It's it's over the top.
well, if you do, drive down the countryside. Have a Sunday drive in the open air with nobody around you.
So,
Is it him? Is it her? Or is it young Biden?
well, since it's tonight, as we tape this, tonight is the first Democratic debate. Although Biden is not going tonight, he's going tomorrow. There's so many candidates that they have to split up over two nights. And since tonight is the first Democratic debate, I think I will give it to Hunter Biden because he is not only an idiot, he's a loser, he's a charlatan.
Charlatan.
When's the last time you heard that?
Not since the 1700s.
He's an all-around bad guy, and I'm sure. Now, I will couch these remarks because Joe Biden has lost, I guess, 3 kids or something.
Has he
lost,
really?
Well, early on, he lost his wife and daughter in a car accident, and then he lost his other son, Beau Biden, to cancer. So he's lost at least 2 kids that I know of, plus a wife. So he's had a really tough life, and now he's got to deal with the one that's left is an idiot. So, yeah, Hunter Biden. I'm not sending you any money, by
He's
the way.
not getting the dollar?
No way. Not a Democrat. I'm not sending it. If he was a libertarian, maybe I'd send him the
Can
money.
you send the dollar to the ex-wife and the ex-brother's wife?
All right, Richie. So we're going to transition and talk about big data.
BD.
And let's first start for the listeners. They've probably heard this term. It's kind of a catch term for a lot of different things. But essentially, big data is best defined, and hopefully we'll try to keep it not too techie on this show. But big data is massive volumes of structured and unstructured data. And again, we're in the tech space, so I won't go too deep into it. But essentially, think of structured data like that we're used to working with in everyday life. So an Excel spreadsheet or a database. That's structured data. It's stuff that it's organized and you can use it. Unstructured data, which is really what is the huge growth market right now, is all these disparate emails and phone numbers and pictures,
video, audio,
pictures, whatever. It's basically totally. It's being accumulated in massive amounts every day, and it's totally unorganized. And there's a huge potential in the ability to not only collect, but also organize, quickly retrieve, and search unstructured data. So that's when they're talking about big data. That's really what they're referring to is this massive amount of data that's being collected. So, Rich, do you know what a quintillion is?
That is a lot of zeros.
So I know you're a math guy, but a quintillion is 1,000,000 to the 5th power. And there are 2.5 quintillion bytes of data collected every day.
For our math-lacking listeners, that's 1,000,000 times 1,000,000 times 1,000,000 times 1,000,000 times 1,000,000.
Correct. And there's 2.5 of that.
Times 2.5.
Times 2.5 every day. And that's just now. That's expected to grow exponentially because if you think about it, listeners, what has happened over the last 10 years? So it went from everyone had a computer in their house or maybe 2 computers in the house and a computer at work even. So now what do you have in your house?
8 smartphones, 6 smart TVs.
Exactly. You have iPods, you have iPads, you have refrigerators that have chips in it. You have streetlights that have chips in it. You have cars. Cars are like supercomputers now. I mean, they have so many chips in cars that it's like a room full of computers.
Home alarms.
Yeah.
HVAC systems, lighting systems. Almost everything now can be controlled with a computer.
Right, and it's broadly referred to as the Internet of Things, IoT, and essentially that means that everything is trying to be made intelligent with a chip in it, and when you have a chip, you need software to control the chip. Software is the instructions for the chip, which is a mechanical device. So anyhow,
my wife put a chip in my wrist because at first she didn't believe I was coming over your house at night every week.
But I thought, Rich, this would be a fun way to introduce the segment to let people know what we're talking about with big data. It's called Google Pizza. Hello, is this Google Pizza? No, sir. I'm sorry. Hello, is this Gordon's Pizza?
Google Pizza?
Yeah, sorry. Hello, is this Gordon's Pizza? No, sir, it's Google Pizza. Okay, wrong number then. No, sir, Google bought Gordon's. Oh, okay. Then can I order, please? Well, do you want the usual? The usual? How do you know my usual? Gordon's didn't know my usual. Well, according to our caller ID, the last 12 times you ordered at Gordon's, you ordered a cheese pizza with sausage and thick crust. Oh, yeah. That's correct. And then the caller suggests, may I suggest you add ricotta, arugula, and sun-dried tomato? No, I don't want vegetables. Well, your cholesterol is very high. But how do you know that? Through your opt-in to our daily email special, we were granted access to results of your blood test for the last 7 years. Okay, but I do not want extras on my pizza. I am medicated for that condition. You have not taken the medication regularly. 4 months ago, you only purchased a box with 30 tablets of medforyou.com at medforyou.com. I bought more from another supplier. It's not showing on your credit card that way. I paid cash, but you did not withdraw that much cash according to your bank statement. I have another source of cash. Not according to your 2017 tax return, unless you got it from an undeclared income source. What the hell? Enough! I'm going to go to an island without internet or phone, and no one will spy on me. I understand, sir, but you need to renew your passport. It has expired 5 weeks ago. So that's obviously a farcical look at what big data could mean to our life.
It would have been a lot better if you didn't stumble out of the blocks and confuse the heck out of me. I get the point. That was actually pretty good.
Yeah, it's a farcical look at what big data could mean to our life. But anyhow, so let's dig down a little bit deep here. So it's obviously growing exponentially. And where did this big data, where technology kind of intervened in our lives at a recognizable place? Where do you think was the most
inflection point?
The inflection point of big data in our lives. I have a nominee which I'll explain, and unless you have a better idea, but I have one nominee that I think will really make sense to people.
Well, I look at it two ways. If you look at the explosion of data and computers, it started really with Microsoft. So without Microsoft and their bazillion computer sales and software they've sold, we don't get to where we get to now. But then Apple, for me, with the smart devices, like whether it was the iPad or the iPhone or iMusic and all that good stuff.
Yeah, iPhone for sure was a huge inflection point.
That really is where they realized, hey, there's 7.5 billion people on this earth, and 6.5 billion of them are old enough to have a phone, and they're going to need a new phone every year. And then they're going to figure out better technology so they can take videos. And
now we're going to replace cameras, fax machines,
So that is where I think it took off.
I agree that is certainly in the last 10 years, and that really is that the invention of the iPhone and Steve Jobs recognizing that there was a need there before anyone else knew. That was his genius, of course. But I'm going to actually go back a little bit earlier, back to our earlier days, Rich, in the 70s. And many people may not even remember, but the airlines were the first ones to really use the network effects of data. And it was a thing called yield management. American Airlines was the first one to come up with it. And essentially, it produced variable pricing. So we're all familiar with this now, airlines, that they sell the same product for different prices to different people, because different people will pay different prices for different people. It's all based on supply and demand. So an airline, hotel, rental cars, there's lots of people who do it now, but it started in the airlines. They know the capacity of the planes, and they know that early on they have to sell the seats cheaper. But as the plane fills up, supply goes down, they can raise the price, and that's the way. It's called yield management or variable pricing. And it's very common now across a lot of industries. There's the mega buses, the Bolt buses. Obviously, I already mentioned hotels, rental cars. There's surge pricing and Uber. Everyone's familiar with that. And so this was a brilliant business innovation that really relied on the availability of accurate data in a network. It was the Sabre network, by the way, that American Airlines invented. And that was really the beginning of this big data era. It was in the late 70s.
Well, I'm glad you didn't take us back to the early 60s with cathode ray tubes and IBM, or this show would have been 2 hours.
But that's not big data, though. That's not really big data.
But
that's just innovation.
Well, it's evolution, right? You got to start with something, and then it grows and grows and grows and expands and evolves. But I'm glad you didn't go back too far. So that's interesting. I just got educated on American Airlines, and what's annoying? It's a quick tangent. You're probably the same way. I cannot sit in a regular seat. I'm 6'3", 230 pounds. I can't sit in a regular seat, especially a long flight. So I always get an exit row. But now they're jamming you.
Right.
If you get it early, you might get it for $50 or $60 or $70. You wait too long, it's going to be $80, $90 some dollars. And then if you get lucky and those seats don't get filled, you can grab it even for free, like the day of, but you risk losing the seat.
Right.
So it's still a juggling game that they invented.
And even in the last, I'd say 2 years, even coach seats in the front of the plane are a premium. The only way you get the base price coach seat is if you get to the back of the plane or a middle seat.
Well, think about it, because now
Everything's an uptick.
Well, here's the problem, right? There's not enough overhead bin space for all the passengers, so people are willing to pay for it, so they get on early to make sure they get a bin. Otherwise, you got to check your bags, which is one of the most annoying things if you had carry-on.
Right. And I love that. See, because I think that's the free market, and a free market works, and that people should pay for a bag. If you're using space, there should be a base price for a seat. If you just have a carry-on that you carry with you, you don't need an overhead bin, you should pay less than someone that has an overhead bin. If you have luggage in the cargo hold, you should pay more. And that's the way it should work, and you should pay for what you need. It shouldn't be
That's
one
all
price.
baked into the price, though.
Yeah, but it shouldn't be. That's what that's what this show is about. Wait till you see where I'm going with this, Richie.
So that was a good segue comment?
It was a good segue. So what a lot of people believe now is, as information is going to become real time, this concept of dynamic pricing, and you're starting to see it actually with surge pricing as well. New York City is implementing surge pricing. So if you're driving in at rush hour, the tolls are going to be more, and they'll actually put a toll on you because you came in during a certain window of time.
When you have to come in.
When you have to come in. So it's going to force people to adapt and make changes, economic decisions due to the conditions, and the people that can go in off hours are going to be able to do that and save money, which I think is a great innovation. Some people don't like that because they just want to pay their price. Now, here's where I'll take it even further, Richie. I think this will disturb you. I love it. There's a high speculation that they're going to be able to do this with food next. So restaurants. So variable pricing at a restaurant.
This is disturbing.
Okay, but think about it. It's the same concept. So if you want to go to a fancy restaurant on a Friday and Saturday night, that's when most people want to go, right? Why wouldn't the restaurant charge more for that seat in the restaurant when there's high demand, and try to spread out the business and maximize profit? So if someone's willing to pay more to go because there's more demand, why shouldn't the restaurant charge more?
Because most people aren't 90 years old wanting to go to dinner at 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Well, yeah, but if the restaurant can command it, why wouldn't they? Now, I know what your argument's going to be is the consumer backlash will be so strong that people will boycott the restaurant. But
let's listen.
You'll be able to do that with data.
Life isn't as flexible for most people. You and I have a little bit more flexibility working out of our house. If we have to run somewhere and take care of something, we can, but we may start work at 5 a.m. one day or work till 11 o'clock. So a lot of people...
4 a.m. today, by the way, which, by the way, I saw your text at 4 a.m.
I was up at 4 as well.
Yeah, well, I saw it, and I was going to respond, but I thought, no, that's...
I was up, just couldn't sleep. Anyway, so most people's lives are 9 to 5. They have to go to, they clock in at 9, they leave at 5. They got to pick up their kids at a certain time or drop them off at school. Their leisure time is post 6 o'clock, mostly on weekends because they have families and things to do through the week. So, and then you get into a routine. It's not so easy to get out of that routine and be flexible with surge pricing. So I am appalled by it.
Dry cleaning. A lot of people want dry cleaning done by Friday.
That's different.
Well, I'm just saying.
But that is different.
Lawn cutting. A lot of people want their lawns cut.
But see now, whoa, hold on there, Hoss. So now, if I'm asking for a normal 3-day dry cleaning to be overnighted, yes, that should be a higher
I'm not talking
charge.
about that. I'm talking about if you want it on a Friday, you might have to pay more for it than if you want to pick it up on a Wednesday.
That's ridiculous. Because
Why?
maybe I can only get to it on that Friday.
But then you're going to have to pay more.
But if my whole life's been that way,
if
that's manipulative and you're taking advantage.
But you're looking at it from the consumer end. I'm looking at it from the business person's end. If the business person has to put on extra staff because they have to have a lot of people that want their stuff on a Friday, why shouldn't they be able to recoup that?
That's the first smart thing you've said so far.
No, I'm always looking at it from the business perspective.
If you have to add more staff, then
right.
yes.
Food shoppers. If Saturday morning, right? If you have to put more staff on because there's a lot more people in the store, right?
Again,
why
you're
shouldn't you charge
finally
more?
making sense. If you're
Same with a restaurant. I said it before. You just didn't catch it.
If your costs,
See, you just can't keep up with the business acumen.
well, not when you're wearing that lower taxes plus less government equals more freedom T-shirt. It's throwing me off looking at you. The point is, business has been operating the same way for 20,000 years, and now because of big data, they're seeing opportunities to manipulate the crowd. I'm okay if they build it in for the last 100 years. Why all of a sudden they've always had more staff on Fridays and Saturday nights. They've always had more staff at supermarkets on Saturdays. Now you're going to take advantage of people that live that way, and maybe there's a lot of families that can't go to the supermarket other than Saturday mornings.
I don't believe that.
Well,
You
the
can go
point is-
Saturday afternoon. You can go Sunday night. You can go anytime.
To me, this is not a good use of big data because, if they had rolled this out years ago where we have more staff and more costs, I understand. But now they're doing it now in 2019. Come on.
But what it'll do, it'll make it more efficient. It's an efficient market issue, right? And if there are people that go Saturday morning that don't have to go. There are people that go Friday night to dinner at fancy restaurants that don't have to go that time. And my point is that if you charge more, it's very likely that this will even out that and it'll make it more efficient, and it'll be a better distribution of capital, and it'll also allow, because the flip side of charging more when it's busy is they can charge less when it's not busy. Because right now they've taken an average, right, to cover their costs. They've taken an average of the week.
But they won't charge less.
Of course they will. They can, because they're trying to. If you were a restaurant and you knew that you were going to make more on Friday night, why wouldn't you charge less on Thursday night to try to draw more people in?
It's already less then.
No, it's going to be even less. That's the way supply and demand works. The lower the cost, the more demand you have.
Yeah, but
you need an economics class. I've figured that out over these episodes. You don't know economics.
To get off of the blanket statement for everyone high horse, because
No, it isn't.
it's gonna. Guess what? I hope half these businesses go out of business because when they lose half their crowd on Friday nights, and that crowd can't come in on a Wednesday or Thursday, they're just going to say, "Screw it, I'm going to go somewhere else."
I'm not denying that there will be a period of adjustment for consumers for this, because it will be jarring for some. Gas prices, you could see, gas pricing could be changing every 5 minutes.
Right.
They could be doing that.
And then think of the full circle, though. Here's where your economics background blows up. So when businesses start losing patrons on a Friday night or Saturday morning or whenever, right? There are going to be smart capitalists that go, I'm going to go back to the way it was, and they're going to come over to me.
Maybe those people will do that, but that's up to the business to figure that out.
Yeah,
and what I'm saying is, I believe that if you're really good at this and you use data wisely, just like Amazon does, just like American Airlines does, this is a better way to price things because people pay for what they want at the price they want. Yield management. Remember that term I taught you today.
I love yield management, but I truly think most people are either set in their ways or do not have the flexibility you think they do. Now,
sounds like a confession to me for you. Set in their ways, don't have flexibility. That sounds a lot like you.
Coming from you, that might be the most contradictory, hypocritical statement you've had in all 55 episodes. So here's where you're going with this, because we got off on a bit of a tangent, but the value of big data, the benefit of big data to consumers, making our lives easier, quicker access to stuff, automating things that were a manual process that are now automated for us behind the scenes. And some of it's good, and some of it's really invasive, scary,
discriminatory. That's where I was going to go lastly with this segment is there at some level. This is discrimination because you're selling the exact same product, an airline seat, hotel room, whatever, to different people. That's the same product for a different price. And at some level, if a restaurant charges more on a Friday night, at some level it's discriminatory against people that can only go Friday night, right?
Well, now-
so I think there will be a discrimination pushback on some of this stuff, but I don't think it's valid.
But do you believe in proportionate? So I know a plumber who charges more to his mainline clients than he does a Chester client because he knows they can afford more. So you're kind of,
Right, well-
is that okay if somebody can afford more? So should there be a fixed charge for certain services and goods, or should there be a charge more proportionate to income?
By the way, listeners, here's a pro tip, a couple of pro tips for you. If you have a Mac at home and a PC at home, don't shop with your Mac. Retailers can tell by IP address that you're coming in with a Mac, and they will show you a higher price than if you're coming in with a PC. Same thing with limiting your amount of data that you put out there. You should always browse shopping sites, or when you're shopping for vacations and stuff like that, always browse in incognito mode or private browsing mode, because what happens is they see you looking for hotel rooms, or they see you looking for flights or cars or whatever, and they realize that they'll test you. They'll say, okay, well, here he comes back again. He's been here 4 times. He's looking for this vacation between this date and this date. We're going to start high and what have you. So you need to, when you're out shopping on the web, you need to browse in incognito mode or whatever it's called, private browsing mode. There's different browsers have different names for it. But you don't want to show that profile to them. They know who you are. They know you're coming back. They know when you were there. They know what you were looking at. This is big data, and this is how they have. Facebook has so much data, not just Facebook, everyone, Google, has so much data on you. They have profiles built on all of us. And so you want to try to limit the data they have out, the data profile they have on you out there.
Now you're finally giving back to society.
Did you know any of that, by the way?
I knew the private browsing mode. I did not know the Mac versus PC.
Yeah, that is true. I have a Mac and I use my PC to do stuff. And then now I've started to learn to use incognito mode, but I do forget sometimes. But okay, so Richie, final comments in this segment before we move on to the movie list.
So I may have told this story on a related episode that was tied into something about data privacy and invasion of our lives from these big companies, but
I know you don't like it.
I don't like it at all. I mean, I like it if it can automate something for me, like refilling a prescription I forgot about. Yes, there are certain things that's really helpful, but
Amazon Prime is amazing. I mean, we have probably like a delivery every day.
yeah, it is amazing, and that's a good example of big data. But the one scary one is, and my brother-in-law, Michael Padgett, is one of the top conspiracy theorists in the United States, and he throws 10 at me every week. And the problem is, 1 or 2 are true, but then he has to believe all 10 because he doesn't know which ones are false. I believe none of them. So, there's pros and cons to our approaches with this. But he was once telling me, make sure you don't leave your Amazon Alexa on
Right.
when you're not playing music,
Right.
because it can hear you.
Yep.
And
This is true.
and it can record what you're saying,
Right.
and then it can use that information, right? And they even prove, I think,
Yeah, Amazon caught some employees listening to stuff.
yep. And
Yeah.
even in Turkey, they were recording somebody's private conversation.
Right.
Yes, so there's one conspiracy theory he was dead on about, and it's happening. And then there was something I had. I forget if I was talking or emailing my wife about a job interview. And on her Facebook profile, within 6 hours, came an advertisement for that company that she had never heard of, would never know it in a million years. And somehow they tied me to her, even though I'm not even a friend on her Facebook page. So
Right.
it's
creepy.
it's creepy.
And that's my last question, maybe comment and question to you is there such thing as privacy? I mean, is the toothpaste out of the tube, the cat out of the bag, whatever metaphor you want to use? Is this inevitable that we all have to sacrifice our privacy for the benefits? And there are benefits of big data. We've mentioned a few. There's lots more. Autonomous cars are another huge big data play that I think will overtake the traditional. America used to be a car country, and out west was a car culture, especially. But the car is one of the most inefficiently used and the worst performing assets you can have. It's used 5% of the day or less for a lot of money that's depreciating. So why couldn't the transportation market be disrupted with smart data? I mean, we've already seen Uber and Lyft become fabulous tools for society. So is it worth it, Rich? Is all this sacrifice of our personal information and these profiles they have on us and this data that they have on us, is it worth it to give it up for the benefits?
I would say until it hurts me financially or publicly or professionally or legally. So far, it's fine, but it's getting to the point where it's borderline. Did you see the video on LinkedIn about the recycling robot?
I did not.
Oh my! So here's where Terminator, I hope that better be one of your movies, is getting true. There's a robot, and it looks like from a distance, a huge like football player with a helmet and hands. It's programmed through artificial intelligence and machine learning, and it's got hands, and it can distinguish between plastic, tin, and glass, and it picks up. They put this stuff on a conveyor belt, and a lot of these recycling plants don't really do it. It's too much manual labor.
Right.
China stopped buying our recyclables.
Right.
It's a real problem.
Right.
This robot, it doesn't really, picks up a piece of glass, throws it in a glass bin, picks up a piece of tin and throws it in a tin. And it's kind of juggling in front of it and behind it. And I'm thinking, holy crap.
Right. Well, yeah, and we talked about this on the Trump show where he's lying to these manufacturing people saying they're going to bring their jobs back. No, manufacturing in the U.S. is going to be automation, and manufacturing will still increase, but it's going to be through machines and robots and not people doing repetitive tasks.
And folks, that's all part of big data.
Yeah.
Okay, what do you got for me movie-wise?
All right, Richie. So again, this is my list, and good people can disagree. And I must confess that this is more of a male-oriented list, if I'm being honest. There's no sequels allowed in this list because sequels.
No sequels?
No, because like for instance, I'll just say
Terminator.
Terminator 2, great movie, but it was a copy of the first movie, so I didn't want to do any sequels.
Well,
and they're
I'm already annoyed by your list.
They're basically it's focusing on
one-hit wonders.
Future technology, right?
All right, I'll try.
And I also kind of qualified it that it has to be like plausibly related to us on Earth. It can't be like I took Star Wars out because Star Wars really wasn't. It was kind of a make-believe.
Well, there were 8 sequels, so you had to take it out.
Well, no, the original Star Wars I could have.
There were sequels to Star Wars.
I know. I said you can't. I'm not saying 2 on. So it could be the original, but not the sequels.
Ah, you're not clear today.
Yes,
You're
I am.
really
You're not
clear.
listening.
All right.
All right. Here we go. Number 10. Total Recall.
Yes.
Arnold, it's not a great movie cinematically or even critically, but I just love that movie. I love the hologram. Remember when he used the hologram? That freaked me out that he used that hologram in Total Recall.
What year was that?
I don't know, but it was early 90s, I think, right? Or even in the 80s.
Maybe even late 80s. And by the way, holograms now are used.
Yes, they are. Number 9, Blade Runner. Do you remember
Absolutely.
Harrison Ford's debut, I guess, and that was in the late 70s or something?
Great movie. That was in the 70s, late 70s. And now they've since remade that movie, maybe even more than once.
Yeah, but the original, I always go with the original. This one's going to surprise you, Rich. And the reason I brought this up is because it's coming true. The movie Her. Did you ever see that with Joaquin Phoenix, where he had a girlfriend that was
I couldn't stomach the premise when I saw the previews.
But the reason I put it on this list is because this is happening, especially in Asia now. There's guys that are ordering robots, sex bots, legitimately as their girlfriends, and some of them are even trying to marry them.
I guess that's better than animals.
It's going to come here too.
It's horrifying.
Number 7, the original Westworld. Do you remember this one?
I do.
With Yul Brynner.
Yul Brynner, who looks a lot like me, by the way.
He for the younger listeners out there, Westworld, the HBO series, was a takeoff of this movie, Westworld, from the 70s, and it was really well done. Made you think a lot about things.
By the way, real quick, in this, I think it was 60s or 70s, both Yul Brynner and Muhammad Ali
King and I.
had a home in West Philadelphia in that area that's all mansions that people near St. Joe's University.
Right. Off City Line Avenue,
Yeah.
Overbrook.
Yep.
Right, yeah. Alien, number 6.
Love it.
Sigourney Weaver, Alien 1, of course, no sequels. Sigourney Weaver, Paul Reiser was the kind of the doofus villain in that. And Michael Biehn, who will come up later in the list. But that was a great movie. Made you think about the technology involved in exploring other worlds and the potential problems. Next one, Iron Man. A little more modern. The original Iron Man, Tony Stark or Robert Downey Jr. Did you like Iron Man, Rich?
I liked Iron Man a lot, but it's a little too far-fetched for this survey because I don't know how close we are to actually having an Iron Man superhero out there.
I don't know. I mean,
But I did like the movie.
Have the charge in your chest to be like super strong. It could happen, Rich. You never know.
This is getting crazy.
All right, now we're going to get into good ones. The top 5. So I had a tie here for number 4. Back to the Future and Jurassic Park. Both, I couldn't decide which one I'd put ahead of the other one. Both of them excellent for different reasons.
I'm a huge fan of the Flex capacitor, and I love dinosaurs. So Jurassic Park's one of my all-time favorite movies. On my top 10 list.
Yeah, for sure. Both great for different reasons.
And they're now proving they're actually taking DNA.
Yeah.
There was one example from, what's the... Not onyx, hardened sap. What's that rock called after millions of years? Sap hardens.
Yeah, I know, but I forget.
And
Senior moment.
They are working on prehistoric or 500-year-old or 1,000-year-old DNA, and they're actually starting to recreate very, very low levels.
Yeah.
But it could be a plant right now.
Right.
But once they get this going, so Jurassic Park wasn't too far-fetched.
Well, this is a more serious note. How soon before someone clones a human? I mean, that's going to happen at some point.
They said that doctor in China was doing it.
I know. That's really scary. I don't even want to think about that. All right, top 3, Richie. War Games. Matthew Broderick. I love that movie. I bet I've seen that movie 15 times. And if you haven't...
Thermonuclear power.
Yeah. Do you want to play a game? Basically, if you haven't seen it, computers take over the nuclear launch codes of the United States.
DEFCON, that's where we got DEFCON 5 from.
Right. But great movie, War Games. I love that a lot. Number 2, and this might surprise you, Terminator, the original Terminator, all-time classic. I probably have seen that movie 25 times.
I've seen it 30 times.
And awesome movie, and there's so many quotes that came out of that movie. Cyberdyne Systems.
One of the greatest ever.
And then my number 1 movie, because we have to move it along, Planet of the Apes. So the original Planet of the Apes with Charlton Heston, and of course the ending is what really makes you think about.
I still get chills when I think about it.
Oh, it's amazing. Yeah.
So not to ruin the movie for people, but if you haven't seen it, it was from the 60s, right?
It's 50 years ago.
So, folks, Charlton Heston's on a planet run by apes, and
where the humans are subservient.
Where the humans are actually enslaved and cages, whipped and chained, and they can't speak. They're mute.
They flip-flop with humans like we have.
So, Charlton Heston's like, where did I get what portal, what time portal did I get thrust through into this backwards world? And he finally escapes from the apes because they realize, well, where did he come from? And they actually know where he came from. And he's cruising. He grabs the one girl. He tries to save her from them, and they let him go. And he's cruising down the sand on his horse. And the movie ends, and you see a big shadow. And he stops dead in his tracks, and he pans to the Statue of Liberty,
all broken
up to its chest, with just the head and the arm with the lantern thrust, and he jumps off the horse and says, "Oh my God, they did it! They did it! Nuclear." And then, from nuclear ashes,
rose up the apes ahead of the humans.
Who were stronger DNA wise, or
didn't that movie really make you think though?
I still think about it.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's an amazing movie. But anyhow, there's my top 10, Richie. What did you think of that?
You did a lot better than I thought.
Now, I do have one caveat, because I've heard that The Matrix is an amazing movie. I've never seen it.
you know what? You did forget The Matrix, and Keanu Reeves is really good in it, and it gives you a different perspective. And some people I know close to me believe that we are in our own illusion, and there's multiple layers, and so people actually believe that there's a fifth dimension or universal separation that The Matrix wasn't too far off on. So
was the movie well done though? I didn't see it, so
it's out there.
Is it top 10 material or not?
Yes.
No. Oh, okay.
It is.
Okay. Cool. Well, good show today, Richie. And July is a big vacation month, and that goes for us as well. So we're going to be playing some, maybe at least one or two best of episodes. So if you have any suggestions on our recent episodes that you'd like to hear again, or you think others might want to hear, send us an email, suggestions@areweidiots.com, and let us know what you'd like us to replay. Then we're planning shows for when we come back in August and September. We just to give you a little tease, we're going to have a show on Venezuela and socialism warnings, that how Venezuela kind of cratered. It started with socialism talk that we're hearing now from some of these progressive left candidates. We're going to have another show on cryptocurrencies, or crypto for dummies, we're going to term it. And by the way, as we tape this show, Bitcoin's back up over 13,000 or so. It was down as low as 3,000, was as high as 20,000. So it's a very volatile space, but we'll have an expert here talking about cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin and others. And then I'm going to have a real lot of fun talking about a show called Forgotten Importance of Liberty. I was trying to get it in for this 4th of July, but we're going to do it this summer. But I think that a lot of Americans have forgotten about the importance of having liberty, and I'm going to have some fun with that show.
Do I even have to do that show with you?
Yes, you have to come here and pretend that you're interested. But anyhow, look forward to seeing you guys when we come back from vacation. Enjoy your vacation if you're having one in July. And as always, please remember, if what you see or hear sounds idiotic, then we're just the guys to help you sort it out. See y'all next episode. Take care.
Thank you for listening. Please download, subscribe, share, and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, and also our website.